I've been using the iPhone XR for several weeks, and it's fine. Even though I want to call it the XR, that's not technically correct. So XR it is.
This video is brought to you by the geniuses at Wix.
The first thing I noticed about the XR was its thickness and weight. It's 17 grams heavier than the XS and 0.6 millimeters thicker, but it feels much more bulky, probably because there is more weight towards the bottom of the phone versus the XS, which is symmetrically weighted. The bezels on the XR are offensively large and remind me of a phone from 5 years ago. I will say though that after using the phone for a while, you forget about the bezels. But when you put the XR next to the XS, the bezel size on the XR looks ridiculous. I was going to say that you get what you pay for the less expensive iPhone, but at $750, you can get a OnePlus 6T or a Galaxy S9 for $200 less and have very slim bezels and a much more modern design. The XR comes in several different colors. I have the most boring color, white, which has silver sides. While white probably does the best job to deter fingerprints, if you're going to get the XR, you might as well pick a color other than white because that's a lot more interesting. I personally think that the blue looks very nice. Really, all the colors look great with their bright glass backs and matte anodized aluminum sides. The upshot to a heavier and thicker phone is a bigger battery. The XR has a 2942 mAh battery versus 2658 on the XS, and that's a difference of 11%. This extra capacity helps to compensate for the bigger, less efficient LCD on the XR, rendering both phones with similar battery life, all else being equal. I was able to get through a day with moderate use on both with about 20% left after a 14-hour day. While we're on the topic of battery, you've heard it before. The new iPhones are capable of fast charging but include a slow charger in the box, so I'm not going to belabor that. It's very annoying. But at least you get wireless charging. The 6.1-inch display on the XR is nice. It's an LCD screen and it has great color accuracy and viewing angles, and even the contrast is really good, even if not AMOLED good, but overall it's a terrific display. It's a little too big to be usable with one hand, but it's not as unwieldy as the huge XS Max. Although the footprint of the XR is about the same as the iPhone 8 Plus, yet the screen is more than half an inch bigger. On the XR you get True Tone, which I always turn off because it makes the screen too warm in my opinion. While the display on the XR doesn't get as bright as the XS, it's still plenty visible in bright outdoor light. Some have lamented the display resolution on the XR, which is 828 by 1792 versus 1125 by 2436 on the XS. But you know what? The pixel density is 326 on the XR, and as we know about phone screens, anything above 300 ppi is great and you can't see pixels. I have very good vision, and the XR doesn't let you see pixels, even if you try really hard. It's fine. Face ID on the XR is just as fast as it is on the XS, thanks to the same sensor system housed within the notch. Speaking of the notch, if you look closely, the notch on the XR is actually a tiny bit wider and taller than on the XS, but you're not going to notice that unless you put the phones side by side. Although the XS and XR have largely the same primary camera sensor, the XR is worse in some situations, especially when it comes to low light, where the XR produces soft, sometimes noisy images when you zoom in for detail. Of course, with no optical zoom on the XR, you can't get closer to a subject optically. Otherwise, the photo quality is about the same when lighting is ample. And for video, the XR can do 4K at 60. I was also surprised at how good portrait photos came out with the XR single camera system. It kind of reminds me of a Pixel. It just does a really good job separating the background from the foreground. In terms of performance, the XR has the new A12 Bionic 7nm chip, and it flies. The only difference between the XR and XS in regards to performance is that the XS has 4 gigs of RAM, whereas the XR has 3, but you won't notice this in day-to-day use. The XR is IP rated, but at IP67 instead of 68 like the XS. That means you can't submerge the phone in water for as long as you can the XS, which doesn't matter to most people. A few other test notes before we wrap this up. I found that the stereo speakers on the XR to be some of the best I've heard on any phone. I'm pretty certain that the audio is louder, clearer, and wider than the XS, maybe because it's a bigger phone and there's more room for the sound to resonate within. Call quality and data speed on AT&T in the Philadelphia area were both terrific. Something that really bugs me is that the XR lacks 3D touch, and if you got used to it on previous model, its replacement haptic touch sucks. It doesn't work in the same places as 3D touch, and it's difficult to trigger, rendering it pretty much useless. I just haven't gotten a hang of it, and it doesn't work very well. Overall, the XR is a really great phone, but it's not that exciting. Before we conclude this video, let me tell you more about our sponsor, Wix. If you want to make an online store, blog, or other website with no coding knowledge, Wix offers an amazing portfolio of tools that let you design something that is right for you. And it's all drag and drop, or pick from one of their many templates. You can learn more in the description below. The XR checks all the boxes, plus it saves you $250 versus the XS, but honestly, if we were to recommend an iPhone that is not the XS and not the XR, it would actually be the iPhone 8 Plus. That phone has such a good combination of speed, camera performance, and battery life, plus you can get it for about $500 on Swappa, so we think it's the iPhone to get right now if you don't feel like dropping $1,000 on the XS or $750 on the XR. But all in all, the iPhone XR is fine.
Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and follow us on social for more. Thanks for watching, that's it for now.